Shocking. Your soulmate was ready to move on. Then they discovered this about you. My child, listen closely to me because your chosen partner was standing at the very edge of walking away forever. They were entirely ready to move on and build a completely different future without your face in it. Then they discovered a beautiful, hidden truth about your loving nature that changed their mind instantly. I have seen your silent tears and the lonely nights you spent wondering why they were pulling away from you. While you wept in the dark, they were desperately praying for clarity, totally unaware of the deep devotion you held. When I finally allowed them to discover how much you truly cared, the shock shattered their plans to leave. Stay with me until the very end of this message, because I am going to reveal the exact moment they will reach out. You need to know this final sign so you are fully prepared when they confess what they found in your soul. Hearing this ending will give you the peace you need while they pack up their foolish plans and return to you. Their bags were mentally packed, and they were fully ready to move on to someone else who could never love them like you do. They were listening to the foolish voices of others who told them it was time to let your memory fade. It was truly shocking when they discovered the quiet sacrifices you made for them, making them realize how wrong those voices were. Those sudden feelings of warmth you feel during the day are clear signs that their shocked mind is constantly thinking about you. They were ready to move on, but now they cannot sleep without remembering the genuine goodness they discovered inside you. I am sending you these comforting feelings to let you know that their plans to leave have been permanently cancelled. Jesus says, "Do not skip a single word of this, because later I will share the exact words they plan to say when they return. You must prepare your heart for the shocking apology they will deliver once they explain what they discovered about your loyalty. Hold on until the final blessing, because it will permanently seal their promise to never try to move on again. I am asking you to take a brave step of trust and forgive them for ever wanting to move on in the first place. You must let go of the angry hurt you feel, because they were simply blind before they discovered your beautiful truth. Open your empty hands to me now, so I can fill them with the renewed love of this awakened soulmate. It is shocking how quickly a stubborn mind can change when I reveal the pure intentions of a faithful heart." They were completely ready to move on, walking in heavy darkness until I shined a light on the amazing grace you carry. Now they are stumbling backward, totally overwhelmed by the realization that they almost lost the best person they ever knew. Keep reading until the final sentence, because I am holding a specific secret that will completely erase your lingering doubts. You have to understand the depth of their shock so you can receive them with the grace I have taught you. This upcoming revelation will serve as your absolute proof that they are never going to move on from you. They had completely given up on the idea of a shared future with you and were ready to move on toward an empty life. They thought your quiet distance meant you did not care, and they started to harden their heart against your beautiful memory. It was truly shocking when they finally discovered that your silence was actually just you respectfully giving them the space they asked for. The Lord says, I watched as they prepared to close the door, fully ready to move on and seek cheap comfort in completely empty places. They were wandering blindly, believing the foolish lies that told them to give up on your profound and special bond. Then they discovered the deep well of patience you possess, and the shocking truth of your unyielding loyalty brought them to their knees. Do not close this message early, because I am preparing to reveal the exact sign that will precede their unexpected apology. You must be ready for the shocking confession they will make about the moment they almost decided to move on forever. Stay with me here, because this final revelation will permanently wipe away every tear you have cried over their painful absence. The secret tears you cried into your pillow were never ignored, even when you felt certain they were moving on without looking back. I collected every single drop of your sorrow while they were secretly praying for a sign to show them the right path. When they discovered how much silent pain you endured just for their sake, they were shocked out of their desire to walk away. It is truly shocking how a single moment of absolute clarity can stop someone who was entirely ready to move on. They were looking at a completely different horizon, thinking your wonderful chapter in their book was permanently closed and sealed. Then they discovered the gentle purity of your forgiving soul, and the realization hit them like a storm, forcing them straight back to you. Do not look away now, because the climax of this message contains a protective blessing you desperately need for your shared future. I want to equip your spirit with the exact knowledge of what they discovered so you can guide them home. Hearing the end of this truth will give you the quiet confidence to welcome them when they return in complete shock. Jesus says, I need you to take a deep breath and trust me enough to let go of your lingering fear and resentment. They were blind and ready to move on, but now they are returning with their eyes completely opened by what they discovered. Release your past hurt right now, so your heart remains soft and entirely ready to receive their shocking and desperate apology. They were marching stubbornly forward, desperately trying to move on and forget the lovely way your name sounded on their lips. They built tall walls to block you out, hoping to wrongly protect themselves from a beautiful future they did not yet understand. It was a shocking defeat for their pride when they discovered that your love had already safely bypassed all their heavy defenses. Stay close to my voice until the very last word, because I am going to plant a specific sign in your life tomorrow morning. You must know what to look for so you can be absolutely sure their desire to move on is truly dead. This final secret will bring you overwhelming peace and totally prepare your spirit for their shocking and sudden return. When you catch the sudden scent of a familiar fragrance out of nowhere, it is because their spirit is urgently reaching for you. They were ready to move on, but the shocking memory of your gentle touch has completely disrupted all their worldly plans. I am allowing you to smell this comforting fragrance to remind you that their discovery about you has pulled them right back. They tried to convince their friends that they were ready to move on, wearing a fake smile to hide their deep inner confusion. They were desperately attempting to write a new story, completely ignoring the fact that their hearts still belonged entirely to you. Then they discovered the undeniable truth of your constant prayers for them, and the shock caused their fake smile to completely crumble. The Lord says, keep your eyes fixed on this message, because I am holding back a massive wave of peace that will wash over you at the end. You need to read every single word to fully absorb the shocking change that has taken place in their stubborn heart. This promised ending will serve as the ultimate anchor for your soul when they finally admit they could not move on. The sudden memories of them that drop into your mind during the day are not random tricks of your tired imagination. I am purposefully placing those thoughts there because they are currently sitting in absolute shock, thinking about the beauty they discovered in you. They were ready to move on, but my unseen hand has firmly turned their head to look right back at your loving face. You must step into complete trust today and totally abandon the fear that you are not good enough for this connection. They were ready to move on because they felt unworthy, not because they found any flaw in your deeply beautiful soul. When they discovered your incredible capacity for forgiveness, it was so shocking that it completely destroyed their foolish urge to run away. Listen to me until the screen fades, because the final blessing I am going to speak over you is incredibly powerful. You must claim this upcoming promise so that their past desire to move on can never again threaten your shared peace. Waiting for this final seal will ensure your heart is fully protected when they reveal the shocking depth of their new devotion. They were sitting in a quiet room, totally ready to move on, when a sudden wave of deep regret washed over their spirit. I showed them a vision of your future together, and they finally understood the massive mistake they were about to make. Discovering the truth of what you truly mean to them was a shocking wake-up call that completely ended their desire to leave. Jesus says, "I have watched you carry the heavy burden of rejection, wrongly believing that their urge to move on was your personal fault. I am here to tell you that they were simply running from their own shadows until they saw the brilliant light inside you. The moment they discovered your unwavering emotional strength, the shock made them drop their bags and turn their feet toward your door. Do not leave this message early, because I am going to describe the exact look on their face when they finally approach you. You need this vital piece of the puzzle so you can recognize the genuine shock and absolute sincerity in their eyes. This final revelation will instantly melt away the ice that formed around your heart when they tried to move on. When you wake up suddenly in the dark hours of the night, it is because their soul is loudly crying out your name. They were entirely ready to move on, but now they are lying awake, deeply shocked by the incredible treasure they almost discarded. This midnight stirring is my absolute guarantee that their heart has discovered your worth and is begging for a second chance. I am asking you to completely empty your heart of any remaining bitterness, so I can fill it with this incoming blessing. They were foolishly ready to move on, but your gentle patience has taught them a shocking lesson about what real love means. If you hold on to the old pain, you will not have any room left to accept the shocking devotion they are bringing home. Hold on to my words until the very end, because the secret I am about to share will be the foundation of your new relationship. You must understand the specific truth they discovered so you can gently comfort them when they confess how close they came to leaving. This final promise will give you the divine strength to happily welcome them back from the edge of their terrible mistake. The Lord says, "It is completely shocking how a heart can turn around the moment I reveal the hidden sacrifices made in absolute silence." They were completely ready to move on, unaware of the countless times you placed their needs far above your very own. When they finally discovered the selfless nature of your spirit, the sheer shock of it permanently anchored their soul to yours. You felt a sudden drop in your stomach last week, and that was the exact moment they seriously considered moving on forever. I let you feel that fleeting pain so you would earnestly pray, and those prayers became the chain that pulled them back. Their shocking discovery of your persistent faith in them completely destroyed their foolish plan to walk down a separate road. Do not stop reading, because the final piece of this puzzle is going to bring an overwhelming flood of joy to your spirit. You need to stick with me to hear the exact blessing that will protect your future from any more painful separations. When you receive this final seal, you will never again have to worry that they might suddenly decide to move on. They were literally looking at other options, trying to convince themselves that they were strong enough to finally move on without you. They wanted to prove they could survive alone, but the empty feeling in their chest kept growing heavier with every passing day. Then they discovered the shocking reality that your love is the only thing that actually makes them feel safe and entirely whole. I am guiding your steps right now, heavily urging you to trust in the beautiful timing of this divinely orchestrated reunion. They were totally ready to move on, but they had to reach that absolute edge to finally discover what they were losing. Your willingness to let go of the past is the final step required to receive their shockingly changed and repentant heart. Jesus says, "Stay with me for just a little longer, because the climax of this divine intervention is right around the corner. I am preparing to hand you the exact key that will permanently lock their wandering heart safely inside your loving embrace. This upcoming revelation is the ultimate reward for your steadfast patience while they selfishly tried to move on without you." It was truly shocking when they looked back at your shared history and finally discovered the totally honest purity of your intentions. They were entirely ready to move on, blinded by temporary confusion, until I wiped their eyes and showed them your golden heart. Seeing your truth so clearly made them violently physically sick at the thought of ever letting someone like you slip away. When you suddenly hear a song that perfectly describes your situation, know that I am using it to speak directly to your weary soul. They were completely ready to move on, but now they are listening to that exact same song and weeping over their terrible mistake. This shared musical sign is proof that their shocking discovery has perfectly aligned their changing heart with your waiting spirit. Do not click away from this truth, because the final seal I am bringing will forever silence the anxious voices in your head. You must stand firm and receive this concluding blessing so you are spiritually armed when they make their shocking return. This final moment of clarity will completely heal the deep wounds created when they stubbornly tried to move on from you. They had drawn a harsh line in the sand, deciding they were absolutely ready to move on and never look back again. They thought leaving was the brave choice, completely misunderstanding the massive amount of courage it takes to actually stay and love deeply. Then they discovered your incredible, quiet bravery, and the shocking contrast made them instantly erase that harsh line in the sand. The Lord says, "I am asking you to completely surrender your timeline to me, because my perfect timing is currently working entirely in your favor." They were ready to move on entirely, but the delay I caused gave them the exact time needed to discover your worth. Trusting my unseen hand is the only way you can peacefully prepare for the shocking moment they finally come running back. Stay anchored to this message until the screen goes dark, because the final promise is specifically tailored to your deepest, hidden insecurities. You need to hear this concluding truth so you can finally stop worrying that they will one day try to move on again. When I deliver this final word, your spirit will instantly recognize the absolute, shocking permanence of their completely changed mind. They were having conversations with others about how they were finally ready to move on and close the book on your relationship entirely. They spoke with false confidence, totally unaware that I was about to completely dismantle their pride with a single, undeniable truth. When they discovered the deep level of respect you still held for them, the shock totally silenced their proud, empty boasting. I felt the heavy sadness in your chest when you assumed their silence meant they had successfully managed to move on without you. You did not know that their silence was actually just the quiet shock of discovering how completely wrong they had been. They are currently retreating only to gather the immense courage needed to admit their shocking mistake and beg for your forgiveness. Do not lose your focus now, because we are rapidly approaching the ultimate turning point of this entire divine and miraculous message. You must prepare your heart to absorb the final blessing that will formally bind their totally shocked soul to yours forever. This closing revelation will totally wash away the bitter taste left behind when they foolishly threatened to move on from you. Jesus says, "It is truly shocking how a cold heart can instantly melt when it finally discovers the warm, absolute truth of genuine devotion." They were perfectly ready to move on, deeply frozen in their stubborn ways, until the bright fire of your love thawed their spirit. Now they are rushing back to you, completely shocked by how deeply they still need the warmth only you can actually provide. I need you to open your hands and willingly drop the heavy resentment you have been carrying since they tried to leave. They were ready to move on out of sheer ignorance, but their completely shocking discovery has totally cured them of that foolish blindness. Letting go of this totally justified anger is the final step you must take to fully receive their profoundly beautiful return. Stay exactly where you are and finish reading this, because the final sign I am giving you is completely uniquely yours. You must learn this secret so you can confidently smile when their shocking return unfolds exactly as I have promised you today. This final piece of knowledge is your divine shield against the horrible fear that they might ever try to move on again. They had completely convinced their family that they were ready to move on and that the connection was permanently dead and buried. They were loudly setting up a completely new life, totally ignorant of the massive emotional earthquake I was about to send them. When they discovered the completely pure nature of your unwavering support, the shocking realization completely leveled their false new life. When you randomly find an old item that belongs to them, it is my direct way of telling you that they are returning. They were absolutely ready to move on, but now they are frantically searching for ways to rebuild the bridge back to you. This physical item is a tangible sign that their shocking discovery has totally anchored their thoughts entirely onto your shared future. The Lord says, "Do not turn away before the final sentence, because the ending contains the exact spiritual medicine your totally exhausted heart desperately needs." You must absorb this concluding blessing so you have the strength to totally forgive them when they admit they wanted to move on. Waiting for this final seal will totally guarantee that your upcoming reunion is built on a totally shocking and unbreakable foundation. They were entirely ready to move on and desperately tried to fill the void you left with totally meaningless, empty distractions. They ran from place to place, totally hoping to find a peace that could replace the beautiful comfort of your familiar presence. Then they discovered that nothing else works, and the shocking truth of your absolute uniqueness has driven them completely back to you. I am calling you to completely trust in the profound, invisible work I am doing inside their completely shocked and broken heart. They were ready to move on, but I personally stepped in and totally forced them to look at the beautiful truth of you.